Okay, let's go with the video of Switzerland.
The Assembly will hear an address by Her Excellency Karen Keller-Sutter, President of the Swiss Confederation. I request protocol to escort Her Excellency and invite her to address the Assembly.
Madame la Présidente,
Madam President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 80 years ago, the world entered a new era, better times. On the 27th of January 1945, the Auschwitz concentration camp was liberated. On the 8th of May 1945, the war in Europe ended, and on 25 June 1945, 50 states adopted the United Nations Charter in San Francisco. And I quote from the charter, "They were determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind." End of quote. Upon the ruins of the Second World War, a new international order was born out of a shared conviction and determination to bring peace and prosperity.
Okay, she's talking about some important dates, and these dates were precisely events that during the Second World War marked the winning, let's say, of the goodness over evil and all that. And as she say, everything of that happened because they were expected, they wanted, and they did it for the purpose of better times for the future, not the opposite.
To the world. The horrors of this time also gave rise to the Geneva Conventions of 1949, which protect the victims of armed conflict. At that time, the foundations for progress and democracy, the rule of law, and the market economy were laid down. Foundations which, despite all the limitations and setbacks, also benefited international cooperation, free trade, peace, and international law. Without drawing any historical...
Yeah, remember that this monetary system changed after Second World War. And then we have a new kind of capitalism, of fiat, in which fiat money is not backed in gold or anything. Before, the money was backed in gold. That's why the Nazis also were so focused on stealing gold. And now we are in another transition that, again, is not necessarily work, but the economic system will change because of new technologies. And we are in a new transition in which we're going to have a new kind of economic system. So it means the system, okay?
Parallels, it is clear that this year, as we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, we are experiencing a new era of particularly extreme political and economic upheaval at a time when, once again, too many wars are raging with civilian populations experiencing unbearable suffering, a time in which...
Well, my suffering was unbearable at times, but it's more like a slow killing. But when one of the times I start to experience HavanaSyndrome was when doing the project of Cardano. That has to be, I mean, it's decentralized. I should be able to participate in it. And it's a new kind of part of the new economic system, and is just one small part, because there should be many kinds of systems among a main system. That is the natural system of trading. Now, it was during doing my project in Cardano that I start to experience HavanaSyndrome, for one of the first times that I experienced HavanaSyndrome in that way, that hard, that clear. Yeah.
Which a just lasting peace in the Middle East and Ukraine still seems beyond reach, and during which autocratic tendencies are gaining ground, including in Europe, a time in which free trade is being put to the test and where ultimately international law, including the Charter of the United Nations, risk becoming dead letter. These upheavals are not coming out of nowhere. They are the result.
She goes to the point. The Carta Magna becoming ashes.
Of developments that.
So let's say there are clear words. It means what it means. Notice that this video lasts only 10 minutes. It's one of the shortest presentations in the UN. It's done by Switzerland. Switzerland is one of the most important countries for the banking system. It's just very interesting speech. Okay.
In some cases, date back a long time in which, in retrospect, we failed to take seriously enough for far too long. We need to be honest with ourselves. These are developments that have no simple solutions, neither at the international nor at the national levels, nor is it enough today to reiterate yet again, merely in speeches, the merits of a particular form of government.
She said that there is not a simple solution. And I just realized something. Sometimes the complexity is not technical. The complexity comes to be political, which makes me think, is the political complexity a technical problem? Is a political problem a technical problem? So it means that we have not identified the problem just as an engineer thinking about that. And I'm not an engineer, but I mean, I study engineering. So it's like maybe is the political issue the problem as politics fundamentally, or is actually a matter of technicality to solve that, what is called the political problem?
The rule of law, international law, free trade, and multilateralism. No, if we wish to surmount the challenges which we face, we have a duty to redouble our efforts. For what is the benefit of the achievements of civilization? What are they worth if they do?
Notice that there is not much people. These conferences last 3 days. So let's say the person that's supposed to be sitting here is now having lunch with the person that's supposed to be here because they don't have time to meet each other. So they are also, I don't know who's sitting here or here, yeah, just to say, but there is a lot of people in that conference, and they would like sometimes to talk to each other. They would like to, I don't know, this is the place in which every single leader of everywhere in the country goes, and they have to go with delegations, and they are working. They cannot sit and listen to every single person, okay? And that's why most of it's like when the opening happened, the thing is full. But afterwards, no one can stay there. I mean, it's like, how many countries has the UN? I don't know, like 200? Every speech, this is 10 minutes speech, the 10 minutes, long speech. Then, I don't know, who gonna stay there sitting for 18 hours straight away? No one. And, well, they were saying that the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese had not much reception in the UN, but because the seats were empty, but it looks the same as the speech in Switzerland and most of the speeches. Remember, this is 3 days. Yeah, it's not a concert in which everyone has to be there in the concert, listening to the band that is playing. This is a different kind of event. This doesn't work like a rock concert. It's a little bit different. So that's why what is considered the public is not as important as the words. Yeah.
Did not tangibly contribute to freedom, security, and prosperity, if they do not bring tangible benefits for people in their day-to-day lives. There are two errors which we must not make. Firstly, pointing the finger only at others. Secondly, leaving international organizations
Pointing the finger could be important. But, you know, this is Switzerland.
alone, to work alone and acting as if they were completely detached from us. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to begin where we can guarantee freedom and contribute to security and prosperity right now. And generally, this is at home, within our own countries. Let me be clear, this is not about praising national self-interest, nor is this about condemning multilateralism. Quite to the contrary. Switzerland is convinced that multilateralism, international organizations, the United Nations are...
Well, Switzerland has become neutral, has traditionally followed neutral politics is because they know pretty much the advantages of multilateralism. You know, this kind of words feels that, again, intromission. These kind of words feel like yeah, they just change whatever you say, but I reckon, yeah, it won't last not as many years as you will think before everyone knows that the whole nervous system could be hacked, and especially because of these situations. Hopefully, after this General Assembly, there will be another one soon, because whatever happened here, we're gonna see a lot of changes in politics, and again, they have to meet to continue talking because the political situation in the world is really fast-paced at the moment.
essential for the peaceful coexistence of peoples, for global economic prosperity, for the resolution of challenges including migration, climate change, the digital transition, and as finance minister, I would also add for global financial stability. Last year, we together adopted the Pact for the Future, a robust commitment to multilateralism. Essential pillar of that pact is the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We must now implement these roadmaps without delay. Switzerland is also convinced that international Geneva can make a unique contribution to the attainment of these goals. Geneva, as the United Nations leading operational center, has robust expertise in numerous crucial areas for our future, particularly those related to humanity and innovation. This is a unique unparalleled ecosystem for reflection, discussion, and concerted action. But a strong international organization needs strong members. And when I say strong, I do not mean strength in terms of size or strength in terms of military might. I am talking about states that are in a position to provide their citizens with an environment in which they're able to flourish and to express themselves freely and in complete safety and security. Security not just in the military sense.
Look, if they are using this technology against me and I don't know who is why, if I don't know if it's coming from satellites or local networks, look, they can use this technology against anyone who works in the diplomatic body, in the government, and they could coerce everyone. So, related to her words, it feels like someone could steer or govern by using this kind of force, and this is not leadership. This is oppression, suppression, and it's not. I mean, has nothing to do with life. Has nothing to do with the betterment of humanity. Remember, I started to receive electroshocks when I was 22 3 years old. Why? Because I applied for a refugee visa, I guess. As soon as I applied for the refugee visa, strange things start to happen. But I was not aware that these things could have happened to me. Yeah, and one of the first things that I start to happen to me was receiving electric shocks of pain, and directed to my head, etc. It was in 2013, 2014. Why? I don't know. And I did not know that that was powered by a technology at that time. Because again, the duality, I thought, maybe is this situation the other, maybe it's non-stress, maybe. No, now I understand why they were happening. But what I cannot understand is what for? What for? I think it's evil. I think it's having people with a lot of power with no accountability. They will come with these ideas that now I heard that part of the voices says that you are an experiment, you are a study. No, this was not an experiment, this was not a study. They tried to use me to kill people, and if I have succumbed to that, I could have died. Yeah, so the experiment would have finished if that was an experiment, but it's not an experiment. It's happening everywhere in the world. It's happening everywhere in the world, and they try to kill me as well, several times. If you put it in that way, I was supposed to die, because they had that plan for me. And that's the evaluation of life. Okay, it's Colombian, is poor, he naively gives all data about who he is, because it's precisely what is required to do the visa, no? The refugee visa. But I think, damn, like, I trust the system, and that has been my mistake. I think I did no mistake. So it's not me that is wrong, it's the system that is wrong. I follow the rule of law in institutions, okay? And I start to experience that, and it has been since since 2016, I start to have the attacks almost directly. Since 2013, 14, I start to have the other attacks. But why? Why? I mean, why? Why is the reason? What's the reason? What for? If I done everything right.
But also at the legal, economic, and social security level, security and freedom are essential prerequisites.
And you know what I'm saying is what these people is saying. So whoever is doing this against me is also going against people who want a better world, because they are saying this is not about mighty. This is about, our problems is in our soul. Our problems is really not about having the power. So it's the lack of leadership.
Requisites for economic growth and therefore for prosperity. They require institutions that are legally sound, reliable, and capable of taking action, and they require political, social, and financial stability.
I agree. If I did anything wrong, they thought that I could spy because I was spying for a country. Okay, tell me which country was it. Take me to court. There are legal means for that. But then, the voices say now that I'm experimenting. Other people will think that I was spying. Other people will think that I was doing something illegal. I've been trying to find what it is, what could have been. They will come with something very stupid. They will come with, no, we thought that this was happening because of this situation, and okay, so you have this that represent 0.0 point, I don't know, 0.0001% of the whole evidence, and you couldn't see everything else but just that. That's that's a make-up excuse.
Here, each state has an obligation to shoulder its own responsibilities. We cannot simply delegate our responsibilities to an international organization. Ladies, gentlemen, the international community cannot but benefit from the domestic strength, prosperity, and stability of each state. Only strong states, strong domestically, can demonstrate true solidarity and contribute to a successful, prosperous international community.
Only strong countries domestically. So it means countries that are not being coerced. With this technology, a lot of countries can be coerced.
But we need to also redouble our efforts as an international community. Today, more than ever before, the United Nations must also take a critical look at itself to consider whether it is still able to fulfill its role as the 50 states intended when they adopted the Charter in San Francisco on 25 June 1945. Multilateralism is also undergoing unprecedented upheaval. These upheavals are punctuated by a resurgence of violations in the normative framework and the very principles and values that underpin multilateral action. Dialogue, cooperation, consensus building, respect for international law, and sovereign equality of states, regardless of size, of economic strength, or political influence. Switzerland calls upon all states to make a firm commitment to uphold the principles and values enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations 80 years ago. This is the prelude to any reflection on reforms and efficiency measures to strengthen the impact of our actions in the 3 pillars of the organization. With this in mind, we fully support the UN 80 reform program of the Secretary General. A greater effectiveness, coherence, agility, and impact of multilateral action should each.
Okay, there is a reform from the Secretary General. So apparently this meeting is about that reform. Hopefully it will. Everyone is talking about they want reform. In different words, everyone is talking about, this is crumbling. This is crumbling, it's gonna change, or they say things like, this is obviously changing, or this is a new kind of world, this is a new kind of, or I don't know, the word that we know just go away, etc.
Guide our decisions. A structured, well-thought-through approach together for defining the UN of the future is vital. I can assure you that Switzerland will continue to work towards reform. We remain committed to the reform efforts to a more effective and efficient United Nations and to sustainable multilateralism, both as a reliable host state and as a committed member state. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are not in the same situation today as we were 80 years ago. We are in the midst of a critical phase, and the next chapter of history is yet to be written. This also means that we can play an active role in shaping it. And I quote an Auschwitz survivor, the Italian writer Primo Levi, "It happened. Therefore, it could happen again." This is.
If it happened to me, it will happen again. And switch that camp, someone came and, oh, this happened, they took photos and so on. My situation has not been public again. Has not been public yet. So it will happen again, still in the shadows.
is the core of what we have to say. End of quote. But it doesn't have to happen again. And indeed, it must not happen again. This is why the United Nations was created.
You know, they want to keep the old order, or they create a new world order, but they want to keep the nuclear weapon secret. This is what's gonna happen. It will be like two people pointing their spades one to the other, saying, like, yeah, we should do peace, we should do peace, we should do peace, but their spades are going just closer and closer. Because no one else can see the spades. The spades. And they just continue doing that. So if I'm improve this technology going public, because you have to be really stupid to think that AI won't bring a hell of things, and you are not able to see them coming, and therefore you think that you can hide a little bit of that technology that is it's a lot. It's a mind-blowing thing. It's like it's gonna be as huge as the impact of a meteorite. It's just undeniably will change humanity forever in every single context and way. Yeah, and we want to think that we can keep living alive in a kind of normality. Wow, we are in the AI age.
Created 80 years ago. And this is also why we are here today. It is up to us to ensure that this turning point in history, which is so often invoked, as was the case 80 years ago, for this to usher in a new era of better times. Let us guard against arrogance and complacency, and let us get to work at home, in our countries, and together at the United Nations. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I could work, honestly. But okay, if you see me different in these videos than the other ones, it's because I'm in a new kind of medication as well. And this medication makes me having everything. It's more difficult to do everything with this medication. So okay, let's leave it here.